For nearly 3 centuries after the devastating Orion Accords, the Galactic Council celebrated what it proudly called the Age of Peace, an era built upon one controversial law above all others: humanity would never again be permitted to serve as soldiers. The decree had not been born from hatred alone, but from fear. During the final expansion wars, human commanders had repeatedly accomplished what every advanced civilization believed impossible. They had defended collapsing star systems with obsolete fleets, turned mining colonies into impregnable fortresses, and transformed certain defeat into impossible victory through relentless adaptation and sacrifice. Every military academy in the galaxy studied humanity's campaigns, not because they admired them, but because they dreaded them. The Council concluded that as long as humans possessed organized armed forces, no empire could ever truly dominate the stars. So they outlawed human militaries, dismantled Earth shipyards, confiscated orbital weapons, erased military academies, and forced humanity into generations of peaceful labor. Human warships became museum pieces. Soldiers became engineers, farmers, scientists, explorers, and teachers, while children grew up hearing stories about heroes they would never be allowed to become. The galaxy believed the dangerous species had finally been tamed. At first, the ban appeared successful. Centuries passed without human fleets. Alien civilizations expanded confidently, believing peace had become permanent. But peace had merely hidden something far older. Beyond the known spiral arms, beneath a dying cluster wrapped in dark matter storms, an ancient prison weakened. Millions of years before the first starfaring civilization, an intelligence known only through fragmented ruins as the Devourer had consumed entire galaxies. It did not conquer planets for resources or territory. It harvested civilizations themselves, feeding upon consciousness until worlds became silent stones drifting through empty space. The ancient builders who had barely defeated it sacrificed entire galaxies to imprison the horror beyond dimensional barriers. Their final warning, carved into indestructible monoliths scattered across forgotten systems, simply read, "If the prison fails, only those who embrace impossible sacrifice may survive." Modern civilizations dismissed the ruins as myths. Their technology had surpassed superstition, or so they believed. Then the stars began disappearing. Entire colonies stopped transmitting without distress calls. Fleets investigating vanished sectors never returned. Planets were discovered untouched, their cities perfectly intact. Yet every living mind had simply ceased to exist. Fear spread faster than official explanations. The Council sent increasingly larger armadas equipped with the galaxy's most sophisticated quantum weapons, but elegance meant nothing against an enemy older than time itself. Ships vanished without explosions. Admirals lost entire battle groups before firing a single shot. Artificial intelligences went insane after detecting impossible mathematical signals. Refugees flooded the core worlds, carrying stories of living shadows that swallowed suns and whispers that drove civilizations to madness before the first attack even arrived. The Council's greatest empires collapsed within months. Their doctrine relied upon overwhelming technology, predictable formations, and perfect calculations. The Devourer obeyed none of those rules. It adapted faster than computers could simulate. Every logical strategy became another pathway to extinction. Desperate leaders reopened ancient archives searching for forgotten solutions. Hidden beneath layers of classified records, they found terrifying statistics from the final expansion wars. Every battle considered impossible by galactic standards had been won by humans through irrational courage, chaotic improvisation, and a willingness to sacrifice everything for strangers. One sentence appeared repeatedly throughout alien after-action reports: "Humans continue fighting after all probability predicts surrender." The Council members stared silently at one another as the truth became unavoidable. The very qualities they had outlawed were precisely the ones required to face an enemy beyond reason. Emergency sessions lasted for days. Pride dissolved beneath the weight of extinction. Finally, by unanimous vote, the Galactic Council revoked the ancient ban on human soldiers. The announcement echoed across every surviving communication network. "Humanity, the galaxy asks for your forgiveness. We ask for your warriors once more." On Earth, silence followed the transmission. The request arrived centuries too late. Most believed humanity had forgotten war forever. But beneath mountains, beneath deserts, beneath oceans, and beneath cities that appeared entirely civilian, hidden vaults slowly awakened. Massive blast doors sealed for generations opened with thunderous echoes. Dust fell from ancient battle banners. Forgotten reactors hummed to life. Rows upon rows of preserved starships emerged from darkness like sleeping giants opening their eyes. The Council had dismantled humanity's visible military, but they had never discovered Project Hearthfire, the final contingency established by the last commanders before the ban took effect. Knowing fear would one day bring the galaxy back to Earth's doorstep, they secretly preserved not merely weapons but traditions. Every generation had quietly trained successors disguised as historians, engineers, rescue specialists, explorers, and emergency responders. They had never prepared for conquest. They had prepared for the day civilization itself needed defenders again. As ancient carriers rose into Earth's skies and veterans whose families had guarded forgotten bunkers for centuries saluted faded flags, one final encrypted message unlocked across every command terminal. It contained only 7 words from humanity's last supreme commander before the ban. If this message plays, the galaxy finally understands. Across countless worlds, terrified civilians watched impossible fleets emerge from hyperspace, bearing an emblem many believed extinct, a blue world surrounded by silver stars. And for the first time since the darkness awakened, hope returned to the galaxy. The arrival of the human armada sent shockwaves across every surviving civilization. Ships that had existed only in forbidden history books now crossed the stars in disciplined formations, their hulls scarred not by neglect, but by centuries of careful preservation. Unlike the sleek alien vessels built for elegance, human warships looked like moving fortresses. Layer upon layer of reinforced armor wrapped around reactors powerful enough to light continents, carrying weapons designed not for intimidation but for endurance. Every captain, every pilot, and every marine aboard those vessels carried a family legacy stretching back to the day the Galactic Council outlawed humanity's armies. They had spent generations training in absolute secrecy, knowing they might never be called upon, yet believing that one day someone, somewhere, would need them. Admiral Evelyn Ward, the descendant of one of Earth's legendary commanders, stood upon the bridge of the flagship Resolute Dawn as distress signals flooded every tactical display. Entire sectors were collapsing faster than anyone had predicted. The Devourer was no ordinary enemy. It consumed quantum communications, corrupted artificial intelligences, and bent gravity itself into living weapons. Fleets that relied on perfect algorithms found themselves destroyed before their computers could even identify a target. Human officers, however, had prepared for exactly this possibility. They shut down advanced targeting systems, switched to manual navigation, relied on visual confirmation instead of automated sensors, and dusted off battle doctrines so old that every alien strategist had dismissed them as primitive. When the first human task force encountered the ancient horror above the shattered world of Kalor Prime, the aliens watching from distant observation stations expected another massacre. Instead, they witnessed something no one had seen in centuries. Human captains ignored textbook formations, scattered their ships into unpredictable attack patterns, sacrificed smaller escorts to lure the monstrous entities away from civilian evacuation routes, and struck from impossible angles with coordinated precision born not from flawless computers, but from trust, instinct, and experience. The battle lasted 19 relentless hours. More than a third of the human armada was damaged, dozens of ships were lost, and thousands of brave men and women never returned. But for the first time since the Devourer awakened, the ancient horror retreated. Across the galaxy, billions stared in disbelief as impossible news spread from world to world. The Devourer had been forced backward. Entire planets erupted into celebration, while the same senators who had once declared human soldiers too dangerous now stood in silent shame. They finally understood the terrible mistake they had made centuries before. Humanity had never been the greatest threat to the galaxy. Humanity had always been its final shield. News of the victory at Kalor Prime spread faster than any official broadcast. On worlds that had already accepted extinction, families gathered beneath darkened skies to watch recordings of battered human warships refusing to retreat even after suffering catastrophic damage. To the astonishment of every military strategist, the human armada did not celebrate its success. Instead, every surviving vessel immediately changed course toward the next endangered system, leaving repair crews behind and racing toward new distress calls. Admiral Evelyn Ward understood what the rest of the galaxy had not yet realized. The battle at Kalor Prime had not defeated the Devourer. It had merely delayed it. Long-range reconnaissance soon confirmed her fears. Hidden within the black void beyond the Perseus expanse, thousands of colossal biomechanical entities were awakening from hibernation, each one larger than a moon and surrounded by swarms of smaller predators, capable of stripping entire fleets apart within minutes. The creature humanity had fought was nothing more than a scout. The true invasion had only begun. As panic swept through the Galactic Council, many governments prepared evacuation plans, abandoning frontier worlds to save their own populations. Humanity refused. Every civilian transport under Earth's command was redirected toward rescue operations, while retired cargo vessels, colony ships, and mining freighters were hastily converted into evacuation carriers. Millions of alien refugees who had once distrusted humans now found themselves welcomed aboard human ships, fed from Earth's emergency reserves, and protected by soldiers who expected nothing in return. Veterans who had spent their entire lives hiding their military heritage now marched openly through the corridors of the fleet, inspiring younger generations who had never imagined they would witness humanity's warriors return. Among the rescued civilians, stories began to spread. Stories of human marines carrying alien children through burning cities, engineers repairing failing life support systems with nothing more than scavenged machinery, and fighter pilots deliberately placing themselves between the Devourer's living weapons and defenseless refugee convoys. The galaxy slowly began to understand that humanity's greatest strength had never been its weapons. It was the unwavering belief that no innocent life should ever be abandoned, regardless of the cost. Meanwhile, deep within the Devourer's expanding abyss, something ancient became aware of humanity's resistance. For the first time in millions of years, the entity encountered a species that did not surrender when logic demanded defeat. Its countless minds turned toward Earth, recognizing echoes of the long-forgotten civilization that had imprisoned it ages before. Through the darkness, a voice older than stars whispered across space, reaching every human flagship at once. "You are not their descendants, yet you carry their defiance. Come, children of impossible hope. Let us see if your courage can survive eternity." On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, every screen flickered as the transmission ended. Admiral Ward looked toward the holographic map, where hundreds of red symbols suddenly shifted course. The entire Devourer fleet was no longer attacking the galaxy at random. Every monstrous vessel had chosen a single destination: Earth,